August 15th, meeting of the West Rockhill Township Board of Supervisors. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any public comments on the agenda items? Seeing none, there will be an executive session following this evening's meeting to cover personnel issues and real estate issues. We have a consent agenda for this evening, which consists of the July 18th minutes, the wind plan review and status and escrow release, emergency services report, building zoning and building permit report, public works report, and conservation committee. And just to remind you all that information is on the web. If you want to go out and look at it on the website, it's always out there the Friday before the meeting. Okay, so are there any questions about the consent agenda?
I have none, other than I will abstain from the minutes because I was not at last month's meeting.
Okay, Don? Okay, then I'll make a motion. Make a motion? Okay, and I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Confirmed appointments. Tim Snyder. Good evening.
How you doing today?
Good.
Can you sit over here?
You could
Or just stand?
if you stand in front, you'll
the
be
mic's
closer.
better.
The mic's better. What I would like to talk about is the PSA fees first off. I was here, I think, back in 2014 and covered this same thing. In reviewing some of the issues, the main issue I have, and Greg and I have talked at length about this, having an escrow fund, I understand the township's position, and I understand it has to be done. From my side of it, and most developers, and most builders, most contractors, most homeowners understand the other side of that, I have to be able to depend on the township to follow the guidelines that they set forth. And one of the issues with the escrow, and I don't know if the board can address that, Jay, I don't know if you remember last time, I don't know if the board remembers last time I was here, but you said you were going to review, you were going to look into. I had two letters in the same envelope was sent. It was a $100 PSA fee. I don't know if you remember back then, but
What year was that, do you know?
I think it was 2014.
14.
And this has all come up again. I kind of got back into some issues, some things with the township for development, and I was reviewing my charges. One of the problems, one of my concerns with the escrow is I finally got a copy of my escrow bill, or my escrow statement. I've never got a copy of any of the bills for the escrow. So I depend on the township, and that's, I don't know whether the board can change that or is willing to change that, but I think I think everybody's entitled to have the bill. If you had an account with me and I was taking money out of it, I don't think you'd be too happy about it in the end. I've never got any of the bills or invoices forwarded to me from that account. Now, that being said,
Before you get to that being said, why don't we deal with the issues as you...
Yeah, I
Let's
think
deal with
we
that.
should too, yeah.
Because if you made a statement there about the getting two bills in one envelope, the
Yes.
time that you talked to me,
Yes.
2014. Why would that happen?
Well, let's go with we can get him copies of
Yeah,
the
whenever
invoices.
anybody asks for copies of bills, we can give them copies of the bills. Usually when we do the mailing, we just send out the invoice, but if somebody says, I want to see copies of the bills, we make them available to anyone who wants to see them.
But wouldn't everybody want to see, number one, wouldn't you want to see it?
Why don't you take care of you and say from now on, I want to see all my bills?
Well, I can do that. My concern was the PSA fees. I didn't know if I was going to get charged for printing all those bills out each time they print the bills out. And I did look into your I don't know what you would call it, your regulations or
Fee
whatever.
schedule. Fee schedule?
Fee schedule, yes. Part of it, subdivision and land ordinance contents. It says, now such fees shall be reasonable in accordance with the ordinary and customary charges of similar services in the community, but in no event shall the fees exceed the rate or cost charged by the professional. 2014, January legal, $37. 2014, PSA fee, January legal, $50. So I was charged $50 for a $37 bill. 2013, legal. Now, if you go further into this, it says, bills will be billed in accordance to fee schedule, and the township administration expenses shall be reimbursed at a 10% cost or charge, but not less than $50 per invoice. And that's where I have problems. I got one for $74 and I had a $50 fee. That's almost 70%. $111 and a $50 fee. It's almost 50%. A $55 one and a $50 fee. That's almost 100%. Now, I understand the township has to cover their expenses, and I'm not here to argue that at all. I'm just here because 100% or close to or above that is a little, I think, excessive. 10%, from what I'm understanding, what I looked into, 8 to 12% is standard for township recovering expenses. I don't have a problem with the 10%. I'm having a problem with the flat fee of $50, no matter how many for one piece of paper, per piece of paper. But that's right in there, and I don't know if that can, if there's a reason for that, or if somebody can tell me why, or.
It costs the same amount of money. Whenever Sherry has to do billing, it costs usually the same amount of time, whether it's a $5 fee or it's that. She has to handle, she has to balance it, she has to balance the escrow account, she has to send out the mailing. There's a handling cost, and there are fees associated with that and costs associated with that, whether it's a $5 bill or a $1,000 bill. There's cost associated with it.
And while it doesn't sound equitable, the theory behind it is the goal we try and reach is that developments are self-sustaining, so that taxpayers don't wind up funding any of the costs of the township that result from a particular development. So yeah, 10%, a lot of townships is 15%, is more normal, but he's right. Like, it costs as much money to process a $30 bill as it does a $3,000 bill.
Does that make sense?
It makes, I understand it.
You don't agree with it, though?
Yeah, I think, well, the other problem here is we're and I don't want to state this the wrong way, but you're a monopoly, in the sense that if I want to do business in West Rockhill Township, or I own a piece of real estate, which we have for 20-some years, 23 years, 24 years, I've lived in this township for 27 or so, I have to come to the board. I have no problems with that, I understand that, but as a monopoly, there's got to be something in there that says you can't charge 110% or 100% of what the invoices are.
They're not a monopoly, they're a government, and there's no profit, there's no motivation for the township to try and make money from you. That's not, governments don't work like that. Nobody goes home, what do you guys make, $2,500 a year, less than that? The goal is to make sure that Mr. and Mrs. Couchet, who have nothing to do with your development, don't finance it. That's the goal.
But a lot of that is covered in the fees, and the fees for all the cost of development, in the sense of fee in lieu of, I mean.
No.
Let's.
Different things.
That's a different thing, Tim. Fee in lieu of.
Fee in lieu of is
Yeah.
a different thing, but there also is fees as we do go through the subdivision process. And if it can't be, I could be wrong, obviously. To me, And when I say monopoly, I mean in the fact that I can't go out and hire somebody else. I can't, yes, I could buy somewhere else in another township, but I can't go anywhere else. I have to deal with the board, and I can't change that. And that's, I don't know whether there's, to be honest with you, some of them were the same day, though. That's the unfortunate part. There was two, I didn't read off, two of them were the exact same day, and they were billed twice.
Tim, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Did you ever bring these in and question it at the time?
This just came up, I just got this about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I did come to the board in 2014 when I had those two bills in the same envelope and they came through. And up until 2013, there was none of these, there was no PSA fee. So no, as I've had the issue, I've come to the board. Now, this just came up again this time, and that's why.
When there's activity, that's when the billing happens. When there's no activity, there's no billing. When Mary or Steve send in a bill for the activity.
Right, but have you seen the issue that he's talking about?
I don't know if he spoke with Sherry about it or not.
I've spoken to you
Right.
and Sherry,
Right, but
yes. But
I don't-
you've directed me to Sherry in
Right.
the sense that Sherry handles all that.
Sherry handles most of the bills when it comes to that.
Well, I will say, we do discuss fee schedule, but our fee schedules are not out of line. I mean, we try to be fair with everybody. And I do understand your frustration and your point of view. So, we do need to look at every invoice that's made, but there is a cost that goes along with processing an invoice.
And I don't disagree with that. I really don't. But I don't have one single invoice. Now, that's maybe a good thing, that I don't have one where I'm at 10%. Everything's well over 10%. So, and like I said, some of them have come in the same day, and that's where I really question the majority of that. That's the main question I have for that. I wanted to make sure that I can get the invoices, copies of the invoices, without worrying about the PSA fees getting hit again, because then that's more work. But if that's what I'm paying the PSA fees for, then so be it. But from what I've seen in the past and how we've worked in the past is a bill comes in from Mary for my stuff, the township sends me a copy of the bill, I paid Mary.
No, you
Or
don't pay
Mary,
me.
not Mary, I'm sorry, Mary. I pay Mary's office.
No, you don't pay my office, you pay Greg.
Well, not in the
Pay the
past.
township.
In the past.
No, never.
She is a
As
township.
long as I've been practicing
you
law,
never-
I
you never
bill
pay
through
her.
the
You pay her.
municipality.
I did-
What you
I
do
paid
is-
those
yes,
in the
that's
township.
right.
There was no PSA fee at the
It's
time.
kind of like an escrow agreement or something like that, right?
Well, that was, yeah, I guess when it ran out of escrow, they just sent me the bills, and then I just paid the copy, we just paid
Exactly.
paid that. And last time this came up, the issue was, if I remember correctly, Greg, we changed the way the township changed the way they do things. They used to just send a copy of the bill to me and I paid the township. Now they, I don't know, I can't remember how you worded it, but basically it goes through the office more, there's more work for the office, so now there's the fee in there.
Right, in the fee schedule, it's a fee of $1,000 and then a PSA escrow of $7,500. The fee is the $1,000, that's what the township gets. The rest is $7,500 to cover the bills for Mary and Steve's time. That added fee goes for the billing. Whenever somebody wants a right-to-know request or anything like that, you only get charged for copies, if you want copies, but you have the right to see whatever document you want from the township. So there are copies available, or we could scan it in an email. You don't get charged extra for a PSA for asking for copies. You get charged based off the percentage of the bill from Mary or Steve, or the minimum charge of $50 per the fee schedule. So you don't get charged for what the work we do, we get charged for a percentage of what Steve and Mary bill based off of our billing requirements and our billing cycles.
The percentage, but you just said in that kind of sentence there that you charge for copies.
If you want
So
copies,
if
but
ask for a copy of the bill, then I get charged for the copy of the bill.
25 cents a copy if you want a copy,
Okay.
or we usually scan stuff in and email it to people for free because it doesn't charge. We don't get a fee. Every time you make a copy,
You don't-
the township gets billed for copies from the copier. So then we pass the cost on to the residents who want a copy. But if you ask for something scanned, we scan it and email it to you because we don't get charged for that. There's not a cost to the township. So if you want a copy, yes, it will cost you 25 cents per page for a copy.
Or you can get it emailed and print it out yourself.
Yeah,
For
and
free.
That's fine, but I didn't know that option, but making sure that they're available was my big concern.
Okay, all right.
Every time the township processes a piece of paper, they pay money. Somebody has to do that.
Yep.
And we're charged with managing the money that these people provide to run this township. So we have to look at what the cost of processing a piece of paper is. In general industry, it costs as much as $100 or more for every piece of paper. So they have to pay somebody the labor, we gotta pay the labor, we gotta duplicate it, we gotta rent the equipment to duplicate it. So the numbers are not unreasonable.
Okay, let's move along.
That's it?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Moving along to committee reports. Planning Commission. Chris?
Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. Planning Commission met last night. We had two applicants. First was David Nice. He has the pole building out here on 309 Westland Pike. They were in last month.
The one that was put up illegally?
Yes, that one.
Okay, that
Okay.
one.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Yep.
I don't like to bring that up in my report. I'll let you do it. Thank you.
He didn't disappoint.
Anyway, he was in last month. We reviewed last month, came up with some changes, suggested changes for them. They came back in last night with new changes, and we were happy with what they did. They were still looking for waivers of road improvements and a traffic study. We agreed to the waiver requests with the fee in lieu of discussion to be held with staff and board. I don't know if you remember, but he wants to pay what it would cost him to put the improvements in. So it was a lot less than what the fee schedule would call for. We see no reason to put the improvements in out there at this point, so we would like to see him pay a fee in lieu of. We want you guys to figure out what that number's gonna be.
All right. Have you been in the discussion?
We haven't
Yeah.
had any discussions.
Okay,
yet.
well, we'll wait to hear from your discussion.
He was directed to contact the manager to
Okay.
start that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
The other notable change was they were proposing an extinguishable easement from the back of that pole building onto the property behind, which is owned by Dave's father. Apparently, you didn't like that. We didn't like it either.
There's no
so-
said like they can extinguish, that's like a dissolving wedding ring or
Yeah.
something.
Something like that.
Something like that.
So anyway, they changed that to a standard easement, and we were happy with that. I'm supposing you were happy with that as well?
Yeah, well, their attorney agreed.
Okay, so with all these changes, we voted to recommend conditional preliminary final approval on that project.
Okay.
Conditional when you come up with your fee schedule.
All right.
So that was Dave Nice. Do you have any questions on that?
No.
Okay. All right, second applicant was Penn Foundation. They recently purchased building number 1 at 711 Lawn Avenue. 711 is the address, not a convenience store.
Right.
So if you're familiar with that campus there, it's Penn, what is it, Upper Bucks Orthopedic
Yep.
and the eye doctor
Yep.
are in building 2. Building 1 is the one you face as you're driving.
Straight
So
ahead, yeah.
Penn Foundation purchased that. They had to do a little bit of improvement to the building, and they have an outside set of stairs that lead to the basement, and they would like to put a shed roof over that. Shed roof, 12 by 24, cover the lower level entry. It doesn't change impervious surface or anything. It does, by definition, require land development. So they were looking for a waiver to land development, which we were happy to do.
Excuse me, Chris, does that door just open into the lawn in the back? Or it goes out to a parking lot, or?
The door, it's a basement door, you have to walk down the
Just a
steps.
base, oh, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
So they want to put a shed roof over that to,
All right, I
it'd be
didn't
nice if
know.
I had the drawing.
Okay.
It
Oh,
explains it a lot better if you see the picture. So we were on board with waiving that, but we wanted to see them do something with the runoff. They're not tying the roof into their drainage system, so we requested that they put either a rain garden or a dry well, like splash pad type of thing, which they were more than happy to.
Stormwater
Chris is a
management
bit-
controls to the satisfaction of the township engineer, could we say that?
Yeah, we can say that. Thank you.
Is it big enough to impact the impervious surface?
It doesn't at all. It's covering something
Concrete.
that's already impervious. So it's not pumping the numbers at all.
Are they, can I ask you a question regarding that building?
Mhm.
Since they purchased it, are they going to, the reason why I'm asking this is because I've been down to the orthopedics here recently, several times over the past 6 months. And I see a problem with parking.
Yes, you do.
Not
We're going to
enough.
address that here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the building they're going to use for, as like an outpatient center.
Okay.
So PC voted, we're recommending the waiver condition on the splash pad or rain garden. One thing that we did not discuss was fee in lieu of. I understand there is a fee in lieu of for waiving land development, and we did not discuss that with them. So I'm assuming you don't want me to do that at this point, so we'll kick it to Greg for that.
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Beat a heavy.
yep.
So that was it for the roof. To address the parking issues, they have 34 spaces now. They're going to lose one for whatever little bit of construction that they did there. So they're down to 33. And like Jay said, the parking there is a
It's
nightmare.
terrible.
I go there myself, and it's terrible. The next lot up is Lot 807. That's the main campus for Penn Foundation. And they have a parking, I guess it's a parking lot, on the lower section of that that's contiguous to 7-Eleven. They had an informal sketch of that lot with an additional 32 spaces that would be used for the 7-Eleven property, stairs walking down to that property. So that was just informal. They were looking for direction on that, and we were fine to, support that, as was Steve.
Is it just a stairwell, or just a set of stairs going down, or is it going to be ADA compatible?
I would imagine whatever
I
they
mean,
need to
it's
do.
Penn
they're gonna do.
Foundation, so
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
expect,
I think they'll accommodate their ADA spaces in the existing parking next to the
Okay.
building.
All right.
At least last night, they were only talking about a stairs, because it's a pretty good slope
Yeah, I
between
know,
the two
yeah.
parking lots. The ADA ramps might be a little extensive.
okay.
But they were trying to separate the projects. They would like to proceed with their roof.
Yeah.
Will there be
Yeah.
the driveway to the upper lot? I'm just saying, do
No.
you want to take the traffic? If there isn't a connection between the two lots, then you pull in, you can't find a parking space, and you have to go out back on Lawn Avenue and turn in.
I think they also anticipate that it'll be mostly
Yes.
used by their employees.
Oh,
That their employee parking will be on the Penn Foundation property in the new lot, and the clients will use the existing parking around the building. So it would eliminate some of that, pulling into the one facility and then having to drive back out and go around to the other parking lot.
Okay.
So that was all we had. Any more
Okay.
questions on Penn Foundation?
No?
That's all we had.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Move for approval.
Okay.
Yep, I'll second it, yep.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Okay. Park and Rec report.
Yes, hello,
Mr. Strobel.
how are you?
Good.
Park and Rec had our meeting on August 8th, and I brought them up to date on the tot lot. The climbing wall and the other pieces been installed in the tot lot, and I did stop by a week ago and did see a young boy climbing on the wall, so I think it's a success so far. And we're really pleased to see that finished.
Good.
Well, it's not finished yet. You still have one piece of equipment that you need.
We have room for one piece, and
That you're planning on.
we are hoping in the future, but then, of course, we're talking next year to get our monies in line. You're going to, add to your budget for some money for us, so we'll see how next year works out, unless you see some other ideas, Jay. I know where you're thinking.
The committee's gotta come up with a plan, with an action, and costs, and what do things cost, and so on and so
Yeah,
forth.
but we're just, glad that we've taken the first step.
It looks great,
It does look good.
looks great.
And
Well,
we
you've
have
taken
to,
2 steps, not just 1 step. You enlarged it,
We've
and then you
enlarged.
put the equipment in.
yes.
So it's 2.
And then we had all this heavy rain, so the drainage worked out, nothing flooded.
Good, good,
And that was a real plus right
Good.
there.
good.
So I was looking at that. Next is, per your update, the person we had on the Park and Rec has been officially removed. And we're now looking at, Robbie Fisher as being a full-time member now. So we're looking for your approval on Robbie.
I've come to know Robbie a little bit, and I think he'd be an excellent choice. I think he'd be a good permanent addition. What do you think?
Well, he's definitely energetic. I don't know him that well. I've only met him through the fishing derby and the few meetings that we've been at. I don't believe I have any objection to him being on there. He seems to be very interested in the program. Don, you have any idea or
Well,
thoughts?
no, he's a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got some
Volunteer.
youth in there, so that
Yeah.
helps.
Yep. I'd if you need to, I'd make a motion that we
Okay.
appoint Robbie,
As a
I'll
full-time
second that.
member. Yeah.
full-time member, yeah.
Yes.
And I'll second it. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We had a lengthy discussion, Park and Rec, on the benches. Different options. Plastic, wood, pressure treated, so and so. We went through some things. I'm in favor of wood, after seeing that I can get cedar, 2x6s, 12 feet long. I can cut them in half, keep the cost down. We did look at the plastic, and it's high. If you want to know some costs, I can discuss some of that with you, if you like.
What's the life expectancy on the wood versus the plastic?
Plastic is forever, I think.
No.
I mean, it just won't break
But it
down.
develops mold.
Now we're not talking Trex, we're talking plastic.
Oh, okay.
Recycled plastic? is it?
Recycled
Yeah.
plastic bottles.
Okay.
And also, would you share, we did discuss possibly trying one out, getting
Right.
enough material to try one,
Okay.
see what it would hold up like?
But that's kind of failed.
Okay, I
Okay.
was only bringing to
Right,
light
no,
what
I
we
didn't
discussed.
want to go too far onto
Okay,
it, but,
all right.
okay, so, the vendor that we've contacted, wanted it to be a 3x6,
Oh,
not a 2x6, because of the flex, six
right.
foot span.
Remember we talked about that?
Yes. So a 3x6 would be,
Too thick for
yes.
a
So,
basis.
Yeah, and the cost is way out of line.
Okay,
Okay.
So it looks like that approach. Now, I'm not gonna, talk for all of the Park and Rec. That was an idea.
maybe you could look, Bob, at what the basis would cost to accommodate the 3x6 plastic.
Ken?
Just for, just for information.
Okay, but if you wanna look at it, they want $76 for one
For one what?
3x6, 6 foot.
Yeah, okay.
Now, that's, there's no maintenance, and it's fine, but, so you take five times that, and then you got shipping.
Paid $500 for a trash receptacle,
Yes,
okay?
but that's important. No, but we have a lot of benches.
I realize that.
Yeah.
I'm only making the point.
Yes, okay. We've been there, yes. But that's, our point with the benches is we'd like to have 4 of them fixed by Septemberfest. That's it, the 2 on the entranceway and 2 on the walkway. Those 4 would be
With
nice.
the new cedar that you're talking about.
That's what I'm looking at. So I was gonna jump the gun. I don't know, what do you think, Suzanne?
Talk to him.
Comment.
Talk to Greg. Okay?
So it's a matter of getting those 4 into the schedule. Now, I did find the 12-footers in stock at one store, so something I can, and they were only $30 for one 12-footer.
Yeah.
Which means that's only $15 for one board times
Yeah.
5. Big difference. And it's lighter, cedar, and there's a little work to be done by the maintenance guys. So it's a matter of getting those 4 done by September Fest.
Public Works has their oil and chip program the first week of September. After that, they'll be in the park working.
That's why I said,
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
Greg.
just schedule,
Greg is
yeah.
in charge of the schedule.
Right,
He will handle the schedule and
Okay.
make things happen.
good,
And I agree, they should be done before September Fest,
Right.
especially the ones at the entrance.
right.
I mean,
So
that's so visible when you walk in.
that's what happened last September.
Yes,
Yeah,
It didn't look good.
no, I know.
Anyway.
I know.
Okay,
Okay.
so would you like me to move forward and buy the material for those 4 benches in cedar?
I think you should.
Yeah,
Why
if we
we-
need to make a motion, then I'll make a motion, but I just think you should just do it. I mean,
Yeah.
There's no, you
Have
don't
the
should
money.
make a
You don't
motion.
need to make a motion, just work with Greg. and
Okay.
You have the
get
money,
that
right?
done. I mean, that's.
Yeah, I know, I mean, there's such
There's no-
a difference between the plastic and the wood, but, that's a pros and cons, fixing them up.
Think about that next spring.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, let's move forward on the
Okay.
floor and get that done
All
at
right.
least. Okay, that's what I have.
You gotta hand it back.
Frank, question?
1030 Allentown Road. The plastic seating on hot days, are they easy to sit on versus the wood? Or are they very uncomfortable?
I asked that question.
Yeah, you
and-
did.
And Kelly, who did the research on this, said that the manufacturer says they're not as hot as wood.
Or as hot as
And
Trex.
Because I know that Trex is very, very hot. You can't walk on that, on a deck with your bare feet in the sun.
Right.
So they assured us that they were not as hot, the plastic.
All right.
But I can't say I've never sat on it.
No,
I've never seen it, actually.
yeah, neither have I.
But I am concerned about the sag, of the weight. If 2 people would sit side by side on a bench, and what it would do, without a support.
That was,
Yeah.
you said
Okay.
you can always change a 6-foot bench to a 5-foot bench and put a support, but that's more work.
Yeah.
A metal strap, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Okay,
Okay, that's what
all
I
right.
have for Park and Rec.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. A motion to.
So moved.
Park and Rec. Second.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Comprehensive Plan Committee. Don?
We're coming to the final stages. We have an original draft copy. The group is reviewing that, and we'll be going through that in detail at the next meeting on the 30th of August. Invite everybody to come.
Good.
It's interesting discussions.
Yes, good. Thank you. Any questions?
I have none.
All right. Police chief report. I don't see Chief Blake here, but I do
Hi
see.
folks, how are we tonight? Standing in.
How are you, Tim?
I'm doing well, thank you very much.
Good.
I have the August 2018 list of the monthly activities for the Pembroke Regional Police Department for the month of July. The Pembroke Regional Police Department responded to 468 calls for service. Of those calls, 182 were in East Rockhill and 286 were in West Rockhill. The department handled 36 traffic crashes. There were 16 crashes in East Rockhill and 20 in West Rockhill. 15 were reportable crashes and 21 were non-reportable crashes. Under the criminal activity, the Pembroke Regional Police officers responded to 7 Part 1 crimes and 39 Part 2 crimes in July, totaling 46 crimes. Part 1 crimes are also known as index crimes or violent crimes. These are crimes such as homicide, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, theft, auto theft, and arson. West Rockhill, there were 4 theft cases, 3 cases of criminal mischief, 1 case of involuntary deviant sexual intercourse, 4 cases of trespassing, 1 terroristic threat, 1 recklessly endangerment, 1 authorized use of an automobile. We had 5 DUIs in West Rockhill, 2 dog law violations, and 2 ordinance violations. Criminal charges that were filed for July, there were 3 disorderly conducts, 1 identity theft, 1 recklessly endangerment, 1 confinement of dogs, 1 receiving stolen property, 1 underage drinking, 4 DUIs, and 1 possession of drug paraphernalia. Under the other police activities section, officers conducted 275 traffic enforcement details, 37 of those being on Old Bethlehem Pike specifically. Officers issued 15 verbal traffic warnings, 24 citations, and 64 written warnings. They also conducted 170 business checks. First day of school for Upper Bucks Christian School and Faith Christian Academy is scheduled for August 27th, and Penn Ridge School District begins on September the 4th. Under administrative activities, Chief Blake attended a meeting at the Bucks County Intermediate Unit with the Bucks County School District Superintendents and all Bucks County Police Chiefs. That's the end of the report for August 2018.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Move for approval.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
Be safe.
Joint Rec Authority for Holiday House Pool, there's not a whole lot to report. We've got about 3 weeks left in the year. We've had some very successful bingo games this year. A lot of local businesses stepped up and gave us donations for the bingo winners. We had free haircuts, and we had lots of coupons and all kinds of toys and candy and all kinds of stuff that we were able to give the kids. So not only the kids, the adults. The adults were happier than the kids were when they won. So that went real well. We've got a lot of use now of our bocce ball and ping pong. I see a lot, and the beanbag toss that Suzanne put out there. A lot of people using that stuff every day. So people got tired of just coming to the pool to sit at the pool. They'd like to do other things, and I think that was very successful.
Yes.
So I'm glad that, and we've had a lot of good comments about it too, about the fact that there are other activities there now. So that's good. Aside from that, there's really
And the financial results are there.
the financial results.
Are there, I said.
Oh, yeah?
They're making money.
Yeah, and we're making money. Yeah, so
Which
that's
for
good.
many, many years.
I know. So I think that's good. Yeah, we're actually a lot better off than we were last year, and last year we were better off than the year before. So I think it's all coming through. Looks pretty good. So, any questions?
I have none.
I've none.
Yeah.
Move for approval.
I'll second.
Second?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Tax collectors report. Mrs.
Okay.
Clark.
For the month of August, so far I've collected in annual taxes $2,387.58. 2018 interims, $20.27. That's all I've collected for this month. However, I just want to make sure everyone is aware that school tax bill discount period is over August the 31st, and the tax office does have extra hours for the last 2 weeks of discount, and they are on my tax bills. So I've got every day of the week covered for extra hours.
Okay, great.
That's it.
Okay, any questions?
Nope, I'll make a motion for approval.
And
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, engineers report. Steve.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, I have nothing formal on the report. I can report to you, though, that the overlay paving portion of our paving program was completed. I was on Wayland and Catch Basin Road where we filled in that gap, and up on Cedar Hollow Road. And that actually came in a little under our bid price, so
Good.
that worked out well. And as Greg indicated, the second half of that project will be the oil and chip and slurry seal in the developments. That should start sometime in September.
Okay.
Good enough.
Any questions?
Nope.
Nope. Motion to
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, solicitors report.
Yes, the second and third items under the solicitor's report are not going to be considered by the board tonight. They're not ready for you, so they will be on your agenda for the next month, which only leaves the Butter Creek Plan Amendment, which would also be tabled because we do not have a signed agreement at this point, but I think that Mr. Snyder wants to talk to you about his agreement.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
All right, going back to the agreement, I think the latest holdup, if I understand it correctly, Mary, is the, you put a paragraph in there The developer shall work diligently to secure approval of the proposed four-lot plan. If the developer fails to secure the conditional approval of the proposed four-lot plan within 180 days of the date of signing of this agreement, the plan will be deemed withdrawn and become null and void. Now, that came about from an email from you. We started with about on June 28th. We started with this agreement. And I called Mary a couple times, but I wound up talking to an attorney, and he was handling this. And here's an email from my attorney to Mary. Are you working tomorrow? Here's a four-lot plan, four-unit plan. Tim would like to start the house with an agreement that he will file an amended plan, the four-lot plan within 90 days. If he does not, the 13-lot plan is moot. Mary's response, okay with me. I talked to Greg, it's okay with him. I'll have to do the agreement. I'm booked until tomorrow, off till Thursday. The agreement will take about a week. Now, this was in June. We did get the agreement, it was the end of July, which is a month, but that, we worked everything out, I thought, or my attorney worked everything out with Mary. And further forward, Mary sent the agreement over at the end of July, and there were some issues that I had with the agreement, some things that we had talked about, which I thought that email explained pretty clearly that Mary and Greg were okay with a building permit being issued while the subdivision was done. The agreement came over to me and it said no building permit will be issued until the four-lot is recorded. So I called, tried to get a hold of Mary, but she was on vacation. And, well, we went back and forth with my attorney and Mary, he responded. So here's an email to Mary from me on August 4th. Hi Mary, with John's help, I am sending over a copy of the revised agreement with our revisions in red. Please let me know if these changes are acceptable to you in the township. If these changes work for you, Brenda and I are ready to sign the agreement, sign and notarize the agreement so that we can move forward on building a home. Mary's response, I'm fine with John's changes, but I'm having problems sending documents on my computer. I'm sure this problem will be resolved by Monday. Tanya, when you get in, please accept the changes in John's version of the document, save it, and send Tim a version that he can just print out and sign. Tim, we will need 3 fully executed originals of the agreement. I did that. Executed it, printed it out, executed it. Then Mary came back August 6th. Or no, I'm sorry, this is when it was sent over to me, August 6th. We got it to Mary. August 8th, from Mary to me and my attorney. I have the agreement signed by Tim. One question we need to answer before this goes to BOS. What happens if the four-lot plan is submitted by Tim but does not comply with the provisions of SALDO and the BOS cannot approve it? Perhaps the agreement should say submission of a four-lot plan which complies with provisions of SALDO. So we went from a four-lot plan that complies with the provisions of SALDO to the developer has to get done within 180 days. That's where my issue is with this thing. And no offense to Mary, but this has taken 2 months just to get this letter done. And it's not her fault, it's all the back and forth. My first subdivision was 3.5 years to get done. My second one was almost 2 years to get done. I don't know how long the county's gonna take to approve everything. I don't know how long the board's gonna take. I get stuck in a 180-day period, and at the end it says my plan is no good unless the township extends it.
How long do you think you'd be comfortable with to get your plan approved?
Well, I would be comfortable with, we entered into an agreement with you and with the township. We negotiated the agreement.
Can I ask a question quick,
Yes.
Tim?
Yes,
I
go ahead.
apologize for interrupting.
No, don't.
But I'm kind of like a little bit confused in the sense that I never saw this four-lot subdivision plan come in front of the planning commission yet.
Because I was told to negotiate this whole thing with Mary, I have a copy of the plan.
I
I was
realize that.
gonna, but I am trying to get the building permit. I have 54 acres almost.
I understand
We're
that.
trying to get the
And you
building
had
permit.
originally, like, years ago, you had a 13 lot approved subdivision.
13 lot
But
approved
now, you're not building the 4 houses on that 13 lots?
It will total, the 13 lots, instead of being 13, I'm cutting it, it's gonna be 4. Now, I'm trying to make it into 4
Are
lots.
they the same places that some of those houses were, or are they completely, is it
No,
completely?
actually, all the houses fit, and I can show you the plan, all the houses fit right on, my engineer is just taking them from where they were before, and they're back on, right on the same spot. All the lots, there's one 2-acre lot, which was approved at the beginning, and there's a 13-acre lot, a 29-acre lot, and a 10-acre lot.
Yeah.
All large, the homes are all where they were on that 13 lot, they're there. We've eliminated the road. They all take driveway access to Camp Rockhill Road. I will have one lot that fronts on Camp Rockhill, which is the 2-acre lot. And again, if you want to look at the plans, I'm more than happy to show them. I got 2 flag lots, and then there's one lot that fronts on Butter Creek Road.
Do you have the plans with you?
Yes.
I think that would be helpful, because I think talking about this in a vacuum
Right.
is not going to give you guys any idea of what's going on.
I agree, and that's why I brought them. Where do you want me to show?
I would unroll
brought
them
3
right in the
copies.
middle of the gym, and that way both boards would...
I can give you one. Ron, you can have your own,
Thank you, Jim.
and actually, Steve, if you want to look at it. If I remember.
That's not the plan you gave me.
Yes, it is. It's the exact plan I sent over to you.
I'm looking at the exact plan you sent over to me.
I drew 4 lots on it.
Well, I'm not saying there aren't 4 lots, but this is the plan you sent me, and it's got this big P loop. And,
No, that was done over, that's the original plan. This was just drawn over top of the original plan.
but there was
There's
no street in the one that was drawn over top of the original plan.
What do you mean there's?
Everybody
there is
was
no street.
taking driveways.
This is just a driveway, Mary, that's not a street. That's the existing driveway now. What's on there is existing. That whole driveway is existing. This used to be the camp.
Which we already talked about, this or this?
We just took the 13 lots off. This house is exactly where it was on that plan. The septic system is all where it was. The only change is where I wanted to build this house. And that's what started all this. This house crossed a couple lots on the 13-lot plan, so we decided to go this direction. If this lot is exactly where it was, this lot out front here was approved on that plan, this lot, and that's it. There's only 3, right now I have 1 lot I'm looking to add, change it into
But
4.
I'm looking at the, and it's not that I'm trying to argue with you, or this is even that important, but one of the questions you asked him is whether the lots, like, so lot 1, 2, and 3 became 1.
Yeah.
I just want you to see this.
The wetland.
This
Here,
is
right?
1 lot. This is one of the 4 lots.
Yes.
It crosses, see how it crosses?
Yeah, you're not
Oh,
in,
then I
you're
misunderstood.
you're not in the, see, that's what I asked the question, whether you were in the same footprint of the lots.
So we're not combining lots 1, 2,
You're not in
houses.
you're not in the same
House.
footprint.
I thought you said that.
You changed the footprint in this new 4-lot subdivision.
I changed the lot, when you say footprint, you mean lot lines? Well, yeah, I have 13 lots, so
But
we're
it's not
gonna
the-
have to reduce.
But you
Right.
didn't combine lot 1, 2, and 3 as a lot, and you didn't combine lot 4, 5, and 6 as another lot, right?
No, not that I know of, I don't know how.
So all your
it washed out.
lines-
this is,
This'll show
this
you.
is the lot lines drawn in over.
Oh, okay. I see. So here, we're splitting across a couple different, like 3.
3.
Actually, 3.
Across 3 lots.
Yeah, okay.
Why wouldn't you submit a new plan with the 4 lots?
Well,
Well, that wasn't what I
we were
was going
trying to, like, believe it or not, we're not the awful people.
No,
We are.
and
We were
and I-
trying to find a way to give him some relief. He's going from 13 lots to 4 lots. That's a good thing
It
for
is a
the
good thing.
township. So the fact that he wants to go from 13 lots to 4 lots in an area of the township that we think is environmentally sensitive and we want to see less development, like, let's try and work with him and see if we can find a speedier process so that he can build the house he wants to build and get a 4-lot subdivision without torturing the man. I won't make that mistake again. So he's had 2 attorneys during this 6-week process that we're talking about. And his first attorney and I worked out something conceptual. The proof is in the pudding, or the devil's in the details, as they say when you draw up a contract.
Right.
So what it called for, what the contract wound up that he signed was that he'll get his building permit right away, and he's required to submit this 4-lot subdivision within X number of period of time. I forget what it
90
was.
days.
But I was talking to Greg and to Steve, preparing for the meeting, and Steve said, you know, there might be some issues with the lines he drew on that plan. And I'm thinking, gee, suppose the guy submits the plan and never moves it. Suppose the guy submits the plan and can't get approval. Like, what happens then? Then we're just hanging out there in limbo with, because the 13-lot subdivision doesn't go away. Under the changes that his attorney, that John Van Livene made to the agreement, the 13-lot plan doesn't go away until he gets approval of the 4-lot plan. So that left a gap in the agreement that was not in my original agreement. So I wrote, and this was after he signed them, admittedly, but I wrote to John Van Livene and said, what about the, and he read the email, and then there were some phone conversations that you didn't hear where John and I talked, and you know, I said, suppose we say that it complies with the subdivision ordinance, and John said, what plan have you ever seen that complies with the subdivision ordinance? There's always waivers and things like that. That's like an unfair burden. And then I said, well, how about if we say that he gets approval within, you know, say 6 months arbitrarily? And he said he would talk to Tim about that, and that's where everything ended.
But as far as the compliance with Saldo, it is already in the, I'm no attorney, obviously, but it's already in the signed agreement, because on, I think, number 14, it says, in paragraph 14, it says that I agree to comply with every state, federal, local, and township ordinance. Well, Saldo is a township ordinance.
Yeah, we wouldn't get anywhere if we tried to enforce that provision in the circumstance that we're describing here, where you would file the plan and not move it forward. I couldn't go to court and tell a judge, look, it said it comply with all state, federal regulations. That wouldn't work, so, no.
It seems we have the cart before the horse here.
Well, perhaps.
I mean, we have a process that we go through. And the process is if they want to do something, you submit it to the planning commission. And the planning commission evaluates it. Because they specialize in evaluating that relative to the ordinances. Here we are in front of the board, making a decision without any input from the planning commission. And I think that's wrong.
Okay, and that is a fair comment. There are times when people have come in with amended final plans, and you've allowed them to just proceed in front of the board, but there are also probably more times when people have come in with amended final approvals, and you've made them go back to the planning commission. So that's a very fair comment.
I'm not looking for approval on the plan. All we're looking for is to be able to build a house while we are, a building permit, while we are going through this process, because it is a legitimate lot. Now, if you want to make it that it can be no more than 4 lots, I mean, Steve, it's 54 acres almost. Let's face facts. I could definitely get 2. There's 2 would comply probably to everything. 3 would easily comply because I got 1 at the road and I got 2 flag lots. 3 would comply. 4 was what we were looking to go for because we have 3 boys. Not that that really means anything. Will they live there the rest of their lives? I don't know. Will I sell them all tomorrow? I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that's exactly what they're for. I am going to sit here, and Mary can attest to this, because in our first conversation, I told her I wanted to be planted on that property. I don't have any objection. I don't have any reason.
Is the request here to get a permit prior to land development approval?
Yeah, let's just.
Right.
I don't have any plans on moving. Now, I could go tomorrow, you know, so that's a moot point.
That's understood.
But I don't think it's I don't understand why it's such a stretch I'm not asking you to trust me. Technically, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but technically, if I put the house across 2 lot lines on that 13-lot subdivision, the 13-lot subdivision is no good at that point in time because it either has to be changed or altered at that point in time. We cross that bridge then. If I can find a 13-lot plan that fits into the township ordinances within reason, requesting the waivers that I needed, certainly a 4-lot plan should, I can't even see why it needs as many waivers as the 13
Tim, we
lots.
still have to have a record of it.
I agree.
Everybody has to have a record of it.
We're
The
not
waiver
s-
process, and you need to go through that process.
And I'm not stopping that. I'm not disputing that. I'm going through the whole process. I signed the agreement saying I would go through the whole process. The only thing I'm here for is to say, and I negotiated with Mary and Greg in good, now wait a minute, none of those emails.
Just to be
say
clear,
me-
I've never had a conversation with Mr. Slater. I've always dealt with his attorneys.
We had the first conversation, Mary.
I don't even
You called me up.
And
We had
told you
50
that I could only talk to your attorney.
No, we had 50 minutes on the phone.
Okay.
My,
But Tim, understand, if we, and this is an exception, if we make an exception, everybody can want an exception. We have a standard process, you need to follow that process.
but then 2 months, we've been going at this whole process, and I've been negotiating, because I understood that Mary and Greg, I was negotiating good. Nobody said to me, hey, go to the board, and let's get this through the board. And Mary, we had a 50-minute, I have the bill for
Well,
it, we had a conversation.
Okay, I mean, we understand what you're saying, but I think that this needs to go to the planning commission. I really do. This 4-lot subdivision has to go to the planning commission with the houses on it and then come back to us the following month and recommend it or not. But in my mind, that's what I think.
So we need a new plot plan.
We have to, otherwise,
What does that mean? What's the difference, why can't the house
Because
be
we
built?
have one now, 13 properties are
It's-
approved. You
No,
don't
I
have
understand,
approval.
I understand that, but why can't the house be built on 1 lot?
well, then
It's-
come in
it
with a
is one
plot plan.
lot.
Can I come in with a plot plan for that?
I did, they have a
No,
plot.
Wait.
you don't.
Time out. From the beginning of time, and yes, now I'm remembering, we did have a conversation. If Mr. Snyder wants to, make null and void the 13-lot plan, he can get a building permit very, very quickly, and then come in with his 4-lot plan
Yeah.
to the planning commission.
Okay.
That has always been an option that's been available to them.
What's the problem with that?
We've always
There-
talked about that.
There was no problem with that, except for, then I wouldn't have spent the time and money on this agreement, and 2 months, putting this agreement together, and I wouldn't have been going back and forth with Mary. If that's how it was set up, to me, cut and dry, Tim, you have to go to the board, or we can't do it, or you have to withdraw the whole thing. Mary, in our conversation, Mary had said to me, I don't suggest you withdraw the whole thing, it can be revised. I understand it's gotta go through the planning commission, I understand it's gotta go through, we understand all that. What is the difference, and all right, I'll go the other way. You said to me, if you said in 180 days, it's okay if I only do if I give you 180, or you only give me 180 days. Well, what's the difference in time frame then? If it's okay to put the house on and restrict me to a 180-day time period, and you said what is okay with me, well, if I say a year, are you okay with the? My point is, you were willing to give me you wrote the agreement up and you were willing to give me a permit
You talked about that.
based on 180 days, but now you're not willing to give me a permit at all?
Time out, again. And I will never do this again, I'm very sorry. We were trying to find something that we could bring to the board that would represent less aggravation, less time, get you the permits you need, get you an approval for a 4-lot subdivision more quickly than you would have gotten it conventionally. You would still have gone to the planning commission, there'd still have to be a review of the 4-lot plan process. We were trying to find a way, and that way would have been to sign an agreement saying that I'm going to submit a 4-lot subdivision plan, I'll get a building permit now, I'll get